Hello everybody, it's your favorite YouTuber, Austin Holloman. If you have not already, get a video, like, and subscribe because we are about to go over my top 5 places around the world that I would live in permanently with no plans ever to leave. What would those places be? If you guys don't know, I'm Austin Holloman. I'm a world traveler and I've been to over 22 countries at this point, and in a couple days we'll be in Portugal, number 23. I've been in nearly 45 cities around the world. And I've been living outside the United States for almost 2 years, and I've been documenting the entire journey. So if you guys are interested in that, go back and watch my vlogs, go back and watch my live streams, my sit-down talking videos, watch everything. Now, number 1 on my list is Kenya. Nairobi, Kenya, to be specific. If you ask me, if you go to Kenya, you don't need to see anything else besides Nairobi. They have a beach, Mombasa. Not really missing out on nothing if you don't go there. But I'm looking at my notes over here. So number 1, quality of life, living standards such as housing and healthcare. I found healthcare to be very cheap. If you need antibiotics, just like most countries outside the United States, you could just walk right in. And my other experience with healthcare was getting tested for STDs, which is something I recommend everybody do, especially if you're single or even if you're not single. Somebody might be cheating on you. And that was very inexpensive as well and very convenient. Now, the development in Nairobi is fairly new. They have some places that, of course, are recently built, but most places that I went to look like they were built in the last 10 years. But it's still very nice. For example, I have a friend named Troy who stays in Skynest in Nairobi, Kenya, and his place looks spectacular. It looks better than what a lot of you guys are living in the United States. And people don't think that whenever they go to Africa, that they have places just as nice as they do in the United States and Europe and Australia and just like anywhere else in the world. Now, yes, a lot of Africa is not like that, but there are a good amount of places where you can have better quality of life than you would in the States at a far cheaper price. Of course, everything comes with a trade-off. But if you ask me, I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom in a good side of town, convenient side of town. It wasn't in the heart of the action, but it was in a good side of town. And I was paying $676 a month, and it was fully furnished. Like, I didn't need to bring anything but my own personal clothes. Everything else, dishes, washing machine, everything was in there. Nice view on the patio. $676 a month, not expensive at all. And if it wasn't furnished, I could have rented it for about half of that price. So you can't really beat it when it comes to quality of life, when it comes to housing in that aspect. Now, security and safety, you can get robbed in Nairobi. You can get pickpocketed. You can have somebody just reach right in the car that you're riding in and they just take off running with your phone. Petty theft is what they call that. They have riots quite often in Nairobi. That can be extremely dangerous. Recently they had a riot because people want to remove the president, and the president had his military officials open fire on the crowd. Did I ever come close to those situations? No, but it's just something I feel the need to tell you guys to give a fair assessment of Nairobi, Kenya. But other than that, can I walk around as a man? And apparently as women too, because they do this as well. Can I walk around the parts that you, a foreigner, would live in? I'm not talking about the ghettos. I'm not talking about the places that cost $50 a month to stay at that would be dangerous for even a local to be at. You're not going to be there. If you're earning US dollars, you're earning at least $2,000 a month. You're not going to be in these areas where you can't walk around at night by yourself. So do you feel safe in Nairobi, Kenya? I'm telling you as a man, yes, not one time did I ever feel like I was going to get robbed, kidnapped, drugged. I never felt like any of that. That doesn't mean that those things can't happen in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm just saying it's not like Medellin where that shit is constantly on your mind that, ooh, this could happen. That's not the same case. Now, the culture there is not, in Nairobi, Kenya, is not very much of a work culture. It's actually a university campus. The entire city just seems to be a university campus. Everybody, there's parties 7 days a week. Everybody loves to drink. The women are very liberated, sexually liberated, let's call that. So it's fun for a good time. The women are very friendly, very young population. Africa in general has a very young population, but expect most women to work 7 days a week. You do have groups of women that don't work at all, But you got to be careful with those types of women anyway. If you are talking about groceries and transportation, don't even need to factor that into your budget. Groceries and transportation, that Uber, and you could be hanging out 7 days a week. And if you combine your Uber expense 7 days a week, 30 days a month, and groceries, you're literally talking no more than $400 a month. So we're not even going to factor that in. So, cultural norms. I'm going to say is if you're an American, especially in specific Black American, and you go to Nairobi, Kenya to stay permanently, you're not going to have too much of a culture shock besides the fact that these Black people are living in peace and there's not a bunch of gang banging going on. And I'm not saying all Black Americans are like that, but you guys know what the hell I'm talking about. And their music is not as degenerate. It's a completely different culture is what I'm just trying to say, basically. Everybody speaks English in Nairobi. They do speak Swahili primarily. Like, everybody knows Swahili. Like, that's their language. But everybody also knows English. So you wouldn't even need to learn another language, which makes it very convenient. Speaking Portuguese and Spanish does get exhausting at times. Yes, I like it. But after so long, I think it's like, okay, shit, we need to get around some people that speak English. Most people I know that speak another language that live in Latin America or wherever they're at, they say that it does get to a burnout period at some point. The locals are very friendly. The expats, I had the least amount of problems with. Usually when you find usually when you have issues in other countries, it won't be from the locals. It'll be from the other Americans. Trust me. The weather is very warm all throughout the year, except for maybe 2 or 3 months, like around May, June, July, early August, 3-4 months. It's cold and then it's cool, but for the majority of the year it's warm. So don't think because in Africa it's hot. Always. It's not always hot. There are plenty of people in the wintertime in Nairobi that wear trench coats. It gets cold enough for you to wear a trench coat. It doesn't snow in Nairobi, but right outside of Nairobi, I've been in an area where it was freezing and snowing. So yes, that does happen in Africa. In case if you guys did not know it, it happens in Zambia. It happens in a lot of places in Africa. They just don't show you that part. There's a lot of outdoor activities to do. If you guys want to know what those activities are, click down below. The Nairobi travel guide will be linked below. And dating in Nairobi will be linked below because, like I said, it's like a university. You guys need to know exactly how those women move out there because they can be dangerous. So please do not go any further when it comes to dating in Nairobi without my advice. I was there long enough to tell you guys exactly what's going on. I think in Nairobi, it is one of the most progressive places for Africans to get a job. If you're an American and you want to invest in real estate or open up a business, it's great for that too. I would not be an American trying to go get a job in Nairobi. That defeats the entire purpose of us moving abroad. We're not moving to so-called second and third world countries to work there. We're going there to provide opportunities. At the least, it's one of the most stable countries I've been to in Africa. I don't have, and I'm not saying it can't happen, I just don't have the fear of, what is it, the country Gabon and Niger. Those countries had coups recently. I don't think that I have that worry about Kenya. But they do have some political things going on, but not enough to the point where I would say, don't go back. I wouldn't say that. But they are in some stuff right now. They do have freedom of speech. You are a foreigner, so I wouldn't practice that because you will always be an outsider. But it's not like a place like Vietnam where if you make a comment about the government, next thing you know, you're in jail. If you're in Thailand and you say, oh, the king's shoes are ugly, next thing you know, you're doing 100 years in jail. You know, it's not like one of those places like that. So you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. They talk crazy the same way about their president as we do Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Just FYI. Now, one thing I like about Nairobi, Kenya is the visa process. You don't necessarily need to get a residency in this place because you can literally get a 5-year Kenyan visa for $150. 5 years. Now, the normal visa, I believe it was 90 days. 90 days for $50, but if you want to stay 5 years, why not? If you like it, why not get the 5-year visa, multiple entry? Once you leave East Africa, I believe it doesn't work anymore. At least that's what happened to me whenever I tried to go, but maybe it was just a bribe. Who knows? Citizenship is not going to be that easy to get as well, though. Now, The infrastructure in Nairobi is another reason why I love being there. Uber works there. You order Uber, less than 60 seconds, I can guarantee you, if you're in the well-populated areas, less than 60 seconds. Now, if you're out far, far out where there's not even a restaurant within walking distance, of course. But usually you're not going to wait longer than 60 seconds for an Uber. Everything literally works up to US standard. I don't think they have a subway. I never recall seeing a subway when I was there. But they have a toll road. You know, they have all those types of things where it makes life easier as a foreigner and more recognizable. Versus when I was in Tanzania, it was more of a culture shock because things were, you know, it was a bunch of dirt roads everywhere. The internet goes out. The electricity goes out. That stuff happens in Kenya too, but not at the same rate in Nairobi. You don't have to worry about the electricity going out and all that other just unnecessary stuff going on. People don't even use cash in Nairobi. Everybody uses an app on their phone, just like we would do Cash App. People use an app on their phone to pay for everything. So, you know, if you get robbed, most people are only getting robbed for their phone, which, again, I don't know anybody that's been robbed, and I've never been robbed myself in Nairobi as well. It's very safe there as well. Very, very safe. The supermarkets have everything you need. They're not understocked. Again, guys, it's not the typical Africa where you hear like they're running out of food. Everybody's well fed from what I've seen in Nairobi. Of course, not everybody, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. My personal experience, what drove me to want to stay in Nairobi as long as I did and when I will be going back, number one is the people. I felt like that was a place I was supposed to have been born at one point. I just fit right in. Like the way how the people behaved, the way how the women treated me, the way how easy it was to make friends with the local Kenyan men, the way how it was easy to make friends with other expats, the amount of stuff to do, the bang for your buck, the quality of the food, the good weather, you know, everything. You don't need to leave Nairobi. And it's a huge city as well. So that experience alone just sold me for life, where I could literally live there forever. Guys, we're going to change this to the top 3 countries. Number 2, a lot of people already know this about me, which is where I'm at right now, Brazil. Now that I've been traveling around Brazil, I probably would not live anywhere in Brazil. Like I'm here in Manaus. I cannot live here permanently. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't do it. I don't give a damn how beautiful the women are. I could not do it. Surprisingly, I probably could live in Sao Paulo if I had a girlfriend, not as a single man. As a single man, absolutely not. That dating market is too crazy in Sao Paulo. But Salvador Bahia and Sao Paulo, yes, I could do that. Why do I say that amongst both cities? Number one, you get a good bang for your buck. When I was in Salvador Bahia, I could hear, see, and smell the beach for $550 a month. I also had a daily maid that came through 6 days a week, cleaned the shower, the toilet, swept, washed the dishes every single day. And there was an in-building laundry service where they washed and folded your clothes for you. Everything you needed. And it came with all the utilities for that price as well. And it was furnished as well. Couldn't beat that price. In Sao Paulo, you can get a place for $500-600 a month. It won't be as big. There is no beach in the city of Sao Paulo, but you can still get a good bang for your buck, and you can live in either one of those places. You can live for $2,000 a month. That doesn't mean you're thriving, but if you're talking about keeping the lights on and staying fed, $2,000 a month is all you would need in those areas. Now, one thing about Brazil that is a trade-off, that the reason it didn't make number 1 and it made number 2 was safety and security. Now, I've never been robbed in Brazil. I've never felt like I was about to be robbed. I never ran away from a robbery or nothing like that. But it is here. And I don't know about raising a kid in an area where it feels that dangerous. Like, it depends on where you're at. Like, Sao Paulo is dangerous. You walk around at night, I'm like, yeah, I couldn't be a woman walking around late at night. Like, I wouldn't, if I was a woman, I wouldn't walk further than 2,000 feet from my apartment at night. Any further than that, there's too many homeless people that will come and fuck with you. Literally. Or that will rob you. The locals tell you that all the time. So, they have drug cartels. It's typical Latin America. They have drug cartels. They have people that rob you. That stuff is real in Brazil. And it's something to worry about. But for me, it's not a problem. But when you go to places like Nairobi, Kenya, where that's not something you see on a daily basis, that's not an issue. Nairobi is beating it a lot at that point when it comes there. Now, the women in Brazil, they both, each Nairobi and Brazil both have beautiful women. Depends on what you like, right? There's something that comes with each one of them. It's hard to trust women in Nairobi, and Brazilian women are hard to trust as well, generally speaking. Not all of them, but generally speaking. And then you got, if you're black, right, you in Brazil, you got this, they like the white guys, and if you're black, sometimes they can't hear you talking. I'm sick of that shit. In Nairobi, not so much. It's there, but you can tell they're using the white guys for sugar daddy stuff, and they're gonna cheat on their white husband with you. I'm saying that from experience on multiple occasions. I know what the hell I'm talking about. Now, depending on where you're at in Brazil, the work culture is going to be relaxed in Sao Paulo. That was the only place I've been to where it seems like it's America 2.0. Everybody's rushing and moving. You know, chicks are flaking on dates because they got a lot of options. People are always at work. People are trying to be the best who they could be. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires in the city that are taking a large portion of women. That's happening in Sao Paulo. In Salvador, people are sitting on the beach drinking caipirinhas all day. You know, so it depends on what city you picked. Now, cultural aspects in Brazil. In Brazil, the culture is very warm. They're very friendly people, just like in Nairobi. I find that it's easier to make male friends in Nairobi than it is in Brazil. That could be because of the language barrier, but I think it's a cultural thing as well. There's a whole gringo aspect that I think plays a huge factor into that. Versus in Nairobi, yeah, they want to use you as well, but it's not that much of an issue. It's just easier to make. I'm probably going to end up living in Nairobi, to tell you guys. Long story short, I just jump in between the two because sometimes I might get tired of one and go to the other one. Thank God I have the opportunity to do that. The women in Brazil are very warm as well. It's not uncommon for a Brazilian chick to kiss you within the first 2 minutes of meeting you, and she puts her whole tongue in your mouth. Like, that's something that they do amongst themselves here. That's not because people are, they're doing it because you're a foreigner. Shut the fuck up. They do that amongst themselves. You mean to tell me that these chicks just all of a sudden started kissing because I'm a foreigner? Shut up. I can tell you ain't never been nowhere. Shut up. So anyway, I love Brazilian people. Brazil is my first love, my first country that changed my life. If it wasn't for Brazil, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. So thank you, Brazil. I love you as well. Now, language is going to be an issue for some people that don't want to learn another language. If you don't want to learn another language, don't come to Brazil, because the same way how nobody knows Portuguese in the United States, like, you're not just going to most places in the United States speaking Portuguese. Somebody's like, what are you saying? They're not going to know. Most people in Brazil don't know English either. It's the same vice versa. So if you don't want to learn Portuguese, don't even come down here. Like, even for a 7-day trip, you're going to have a hard time not knowing Portuguese. Don't even think about dating unless you want a gringo hunter, and that comes with its own set of issues. Expats in Brazil, here and there, majority of them I don't like. There are some good ones. But I have had many problems in the past with expats in Brazil. I think I like there's only a handful of countries where I like the expats. Like in Thailand, most of them, not all of them, but some great, some not so great. And Kenya, I love them. Tanzania, some great, some not so great. Ghana, a lot of them not so great, But in Brazil, it's kind of 50-50. I love Brazil and I love the expats there, but some of them not so great. Now, the weather, depending on where you stay at, most of Brazil that you would live in is going to be hot. But if the further south you go, the more you are more likely to experience snow. They have some parts of Brazil where people's houses get snowed to a point where they can't get out. People don't think that of South America when they see it because they always show you all the hot part, just like Africa. But yes, that is very real in Brazil as well. If you go to Salvador Bahia, probably not. It's hot year round there from when I last checked. Rio is hot too. It just gets cool. Sao Paulo gets cool and cold, coldish, right? But I don't think it ever freezes in Sao Paulo, the city of Sao Paulo. Correct me if I'm wrong. So overall, the climate in Brazil is warm. There's a lot of natural beauty, a lot of outdoor activities. People love to go to the parks on Sundays and hunt by the hundreds, especially in Sao Paulo. I showed you guys that before. Don't come to Brazil looking for a job because it's hard even for the locals. So I don't even know what the hell you'd be thinking about coming down here. You can own property in a lot of Latin American countries, and Brazil is one of those places. Don't think you'll get a loan to do it either, though. So you can bring opportunity down here, but I would suggest you guys consult with a professional who has done that already, because corruption is big in Africa and Brazil, and you just never know what to expect. But honestly, if I was going to say which one was less corrupt, I would say Brazil is less corrupt than a place like Kenya. African countries tend to be way more corrupt than anywhere else in the world, it seems to be. That's why they're usually underdeveloped, because it's usually the damn leaders that's ruining their own countries. They have freedom of speech. Don't try it in Brazil. If you guys don't know, I tried to use freedom of speech in Brazil. I had to leave Brazil for a while. They had me all on CNN. Police showing up to my house and shit. So don't try that. I can, you know, if you guys don't believe it, Google it, and that'll tell you how much freedom of speech you have as a foreigner there. The government is pretty stable, even though they had a January 6th, the same way how we did in the States with their last president. You don't have to worry about coups here like how they recently just tried to do that in Bolivia and Ecuador and places like you. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think Brazil's pretty much progressed far enough where they're past that point of coups, but that does not stop anything. Healthcare is free in Brazil. I've had to be seen by a doctor when I was here last time in 2022, and it was free hospital. All I had to pay for was my medicine, but I had to wait, and that hospital was ghetto as hell. They have private hospitals you can pay, but why pay when it's free? No need to. Visa, Americans at this moment get 6 months right off the rip. You don't need anything to fly in but yourself. They've been trying to implement a visa where you need a certain amount of money in your bank account. But that has not been in effect yet, so just keep your eyes open for that kind of stuff. Infrastructure. If you ask me, I would say that Sao Paulo had the best infrastructure in Brazil. It was walkable. The Ubers were efficient. You know, they weren't as cheap, but they were efficient. You could pay by Pix, which was the same thing like a Cash App almost, or a PayPal for them. People don't really carry cash. Some people do, but you don't need to if you have Pix. If you don't have Pix in Brazil, there's a lot of stuff you won't be able to do. So I would say the infrastructure is up to par. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this with Nairobi. Nairobi has some of the fastest internet I've ever had in the world. Some of the fastest. Brazil has fast internet as well, but it's not as reliable as Nairobi's. I think an African country has better internet than Brazil. Honestly. And that's not all of Africa. That's just Nairobi, if you guys ask me. Now, my own personal experience that made me want to say that I would live in Brazil for the remainder of my life as one of my options, again, is the people. For me, it's not about cost of living, even though that does matter. Primarily, it's not one of my primary focuses. It is the people, because you people in the United States weren't the best to me. You know, I didn't feel like I could fit in with you guys. You guys are rude. You guys are cold. You guys are inconsiderate as hell. And I don't think I could fit in a lot in that culture. So when I came to Brazil, it changed my life. So what would it be? It would be the people. It would be the people of Brazil. I love how feminine the women are, and I love how masculine the men are. Because when I'm around masculine men, that makes me keep my masculinity up and not around all you soft, blue-haired weirdos in the States. I don't want that shit rubbing off on me. I don't want none of that rubbing off on me. And that's why I'd rather be in a culture where the men are still men. Okay? Got it? Number 3. I was going to go with either Chile or Peru. In this very moment, if you had to ask me today, which one did I like more? It would be Peru. Right? Chile had more to do. The women in Chile were more beautiful. But the people, I just had a better time with the people in Peru. Peru had great infrastructure, toll roads, the Ubers worked great, the internet was great. Not at my Airbnb, but it was great. At the other Airbnb I got, it was great. You know, the lights, the street lights work. Now, people don't drive like the street lights work. They drive however the hell they want over there. But all that stuff works. They have public transportation, of course. And supermarkets are pretty much a restaurant there. When I was in Peru, I'm like, man, if you really want to eat for $2 or $3, $4 a meal, you can eat food just as good at the restaurant, at the grocery store. And it's literally the same food. You'll be just as full for literally a third of the price. And the regular food was cheap anyway. Now, the housing in Peru, I noticed, was very new, very well developed, very American standard housing. Cheap if you rented it directly from the owner, not if you got it on Airbnb. If you got it on Airbnb, you felt like you were back in Dallas, Texas when it came to rent. If guys that have been to Peru know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Now, the cost, you know, if you're living in Peru and you rent a spot, let's say you get a year lease directly from the owner, you can expect to pay around $500 a month for what you guys want. 500, one bedroom, one bathroom in a good part of town. $500 a month. After groceries and everything else, this is another city where most of these cities I'm naming off, you only need $2,000 to live at. That's why I like to keep my cost of living as $2,000, because I just came from Dallas where it was $5,500 for me to survive every month with my business and myself. Safety and security. I heard that it is very common for Americans to get kidnapped in Peru, but I will tell you this, I did not have any worries about women drugging me, robbing me, or I never even came close or even felt like a robbery was even possible late at night, 4 o'clock in the morning by myself. Why? Because number one, there's not a lot of people walking around that look sketchy anyway. Number two, there are people everywhere all the time. That city is pretty much 24 hours from what I've seen. It almost like it never sleeps, because that city's built for tourists and it's safe for tourists. I'll tell you that right now. It does not mean they don't have a crime rate. The work culture, people have a relaxed work culture there. It doesn't seem like they're trying to be the best who they can be. It just seems like they're working to survive, if you ask me, which is fine. There's a trade-off. When people want to be the best they can be, guess what? They don't want to fuck with you. They just want to keep working. When people are relaxed, they want to be more social. Which one do you want? Okay? Leave that for you to decide. It's not my problem. It's your problem. You do need to learn Spanish. Don't go to Peru thinking you're only going to know English. There's people that know English here. Not enough for you to live there without knowing Spanish. Trust me. If you don't know Spanish, you're fucked. Trust me. You're going to limit your dating options largely. Now, when I was in Peru, I did not make any male friends in Peru, but while I was in Peru, I felt, by the way, you don't need to see anything outside of like city life. I don't think you need to see anything outside of Lima. Like, I think that Lima is just the only spot. Everything else might just be like nature, touristy, because I went to Cusco. That's just so you can see Machu Picchu. Don't go move to Cusco unless you don't do that. I'm just telling you, don't do that. Just move to Lima. Trust me. Don't do that. Please don't do that. But I feel like I can walk up to any woman and talk to her and she'd be friendly, smile. Time of day, just nice, natural conversation. Nobody was really pushy like they would have been like they were in Bolivia and stuff like that. Just nice, calm, natural interactions. Just the way I like it. That's why I felt at home in Peru. That's why I enjoy myself. It's usually warm there. It's a beach town, so it might get cooler the closer you get to the water, obviously. Nice vibe with that beach as well. But it does get cool. Like whenever I was leaving and that was late April, at times at nighttime it felt like I needed a jacket, otherwise I was going to die at night. There's a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of nature. All that stuff is in Peru. If you guys are interested in going to Peru, click below and download the Peruvian travel guide. And there is a guide to dating in Peru. Do not go to Peru without my dating guide. Do not ever go to any of these cities if I have a dating guide without it. Watch it first. I'm your only friend. Like I said, do not go to Peru looking for a job. Don't go to any of these places looking for a job. And The government there is very stable from what I've seen, and it seems that they're more right-wing leaning considered their opinions on LGBT. That's none of my business. But I'm just telling you guys, it's none of my business though. You can fly right into Peru, no problem. I believe you get 90 days right off the rip. You could look it up yourself. You get 90 days. You get a good amount of time there to get a feel for the city. And residency is not that expensive and it's not that hard to get as well. So that's an option. Now, citizenship may be a different thing, but residency is not a hard thing there either. And same thing in Brazil. It's not that expensive to get residency in Brazil. Same documents. Latin America in general, it's not hard to get residency. So you don't even have to worry about that kind of stuff. Very simple process to get residency. Won't be much of a culture shock going to Peru either. Like I said, it's designed for tourists. Now, my personal experience that made me want to live in Peru, cost of living, women, weather, convenience are the best words I can use to describe Lima, Peru. Let me know the top 3 places that you would live in throughout the world. Leave them below. Tell me if I assessed these places properly to your liking. Tell me if I inspired you to go to these places. Share the video with somebody that may find this useful and helpful as well. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time.